Can this launch monitor that's under $1,000 outperform models that are 10 to 30 times the cost? A few months ago, I heard about a launch monitor that was camera-based and less than $1,000, so my ears perked up. For the last decade, I've been testing all kinds of launch monitors, a ton of them in the sub $1,000 category, like the PRGR Rapsodo, Swing Caddy, and I've also used all the enterprise level ones like Foresight Sports and Trackman, and then some of the in-betweens like Unicore and Skytrack. So the holy grail that all golfers are looking for is how can I have a reliable indoor simulator set up on a budget? So in this video, I'm gonna give you my impressions of the Square launch monitor, how it performed against models that are way more expensive, and more importantly, is it accurate for this price level? Hi, my name is Jon Sherman. I'm the author of The 4 Foundations of Golf, co-host of the Sweet Spot podcast, and I used to do a ton of product reviews and haven't done them in a while, but now that I've launched my YouTube channel, I still get tons of questions on certain golf products, and again, this is one that really caught my attention. Let's get straight to the point. I'll go through the setup and the software later in this video, but you're probably wondering, is this thing accurate? What I did was I tested the Square versus my launch monitor, which is a Foresight GC3. Incredibly accurate. I've used it for years now, tested against everything else. I know my numbers quite well. I've hit thousands of shots on it indoors. I also tested it against a Trackman 4 at a simulator studio that I was at with my buddy. So I put it to the test against models that were between 10 to 30 times the cost. So here are my impressions. First of all, this thing is incredibly fast. You're getting readings almost instantaneously. I was looking between my computer screen and my phone, which the Square was set up on, and I was seeing my ball flight and numbers on the phone before I actually saw them from Trackman and Foresight. So right off the bat, this thing is incredibly fast, and that was impressive to me. When this thing is accurate, it's really good. I was really impressed by how accurate ball speed, spin rate, spin axis, launch angle, obviously carry distance. And when it read the ball correctly, I was getting numbers that were within 200 to 300 RPMs of Foresight or Trackman, carry distances that were 1 to 2 or 3 yards. So again, when this thing was on, it was almost identical. As you get into longer clubs like 3-woods and drivers, obviously you're gonna see a larger discrepancy because a 1% difference at 120 yards is gonna be a lot larger from 250 or more. But again, when this thing was on, it was keeping pace with some really good launch monitors. Now here was the big difference I saw. Occasionally you are going to get misreads. It was hard for me to say how often this happened, but it was noticeable. So maybe every 6, 7, or 10 shots, I was getting a number that was fairly different than the Foresight or Trackman. One thing you have to do with the Square to help it read the ball more effectively is use these mark balls that come with it. They also are starting to integrate ones from TaylorMade, like their TP5 that also has markings on it. And my guess is that their software is going to improve. For $700, yes, you're getting a really good launch monitor that's going to perform well indoors, but don't expect it to always be as reliable as something that costs way more. So the main reason that Square is unique versus the competition in the sub $1,000 category, as I said before, it's using a camera to measure. If you're strictly looking for a launch monitor that's going to provide simulation, I 100% believe that you should get a camera-based model versus a radar one. The issue with the budget radar sensors is that they don't have enough room to see the ball travel. So if you have limited space indoors in your garage or let's say your basement and you're hitting into a net, that's not enough room for some of these competitors to actually see the spin rate and more importantly, the spin axis. I've tried some of the competitors and sometimes I know I'm hitting a draw and it's registering as a fade because again, it can't see the spin rate clearly enough because it's using radar. One thing I want to make clear about the Square is that this is not for outdoor use. So if you took the Garmin or Rapsodo model and took it outdoors in the driving range, it's going to perform a lot better because again, it has more room to see the ball travel and measure spin rate. Whereas a camera-based model is going to struggle outdoors, especially with sunlight. The Square is only for people who want to use this indoors. And I just want to give a quick thanks to my friends at the Indoor Golf Shop who sent me this unit. They helped build my simulator in my house. I think they're the best resource for all of your DIY indoor golf needs. Whether you're looking for budget launch monitors or a way more complex design, you can call their team and they'll help you out. So a quick shout out to them for sending me this unit to test. So some other budget launch monitors that I've tried, the setup can be a bit cumbersome and take a long time. I found the Square to be pretty intuitive. You can connect it to a PC computer, whether that's a wired connection or Bluetooth, and it works with iOS and Android. I chose to do it on my phone and the setup was really easy. It took maybe 10 minutes to get it up and running. The Square has a rechargeable and removable lithium-ion battery. They say it lasts for up to 8 hours on one charge, so you won't constantly have to plug this thing in. Registering shots is pretty straightforward. It actually functioned quite similar to my GC3. There's an area that you can place the ball. If it sees it, a green light will appear on the device. If it doesn't see it, it's red, and you'll figure out where the ball placement is so it won't be a nuisance to set it up every time. I've actually had a lot of issues in this department with the radar-based ones, so I give this a huge thumbs up in that department as well. As I mentioned before, you'll want to use the marked golf balls. That will help the camera sensor see the spin rate more effectively. Square gives you 3 with your purchase, and again, they're starting to have integrations with other companies like TaylorMade. Another feature I liked, similar to my GC3, is they include an alignment stick so you can set up the device to make sure you're hitting in the direction you want to. This is really important for your simulator setup to make sure your start direction is right. Additionally, you have the option to add stickers around the bottom of your shaft, and we'll pick up stuff like club path and angle of attack. I found these numbers to be somewhat accurate and close to what I was seeing from the Trackman and the Foresight. They weren't exact, so I don't know if I would place 100% faith in these, but as I said, they were pretty close. Overall, I found the user experience to be pretty clean and simple, which is not an easy thing to do. I've had other software and apps that have been incredibly clunky and hard to set up, and Square did a really good job there. Hello friends, just wanted to take a quick break here to tell you I am running a Masters pool through Splash Sports. Last year it was a huge success and we had multiple winners take home thousands of dollars. We're looking to go bigger this year and have bigger prizes, so if you're interested in joining, we have limited spots. Check out the link in the description to sign up. Now back to the video.
Yes, sir!
So I think the third most important feature behind accuracy and how easy it is to use are the software integrations, or even the native software that comes with your simulator. So for $700, I think you're getting a lot of value here, but I wouldn't expect to get all the bells and whistles of, let's say, what Trackman offers for a $20,000 launch monitor. So you get a pretty basic driving range environment that's free to use. It has 2 different scenes you can choose from, and you have a couple of different options for your shot tracer. There's also a data mode where you can analyze things like your club path, attack angle, and some other parameters. As I said earlier, the ball data is pretty comparable to other launch monitors. You're gonna get things like ball speed, launch angle, launch direction, backspin, side spin, apex, carry distance, and total distance. There's also a closest to the pin feature where you can kind of test yourself. Square also gives you access to 10 different golf courses. These are 3D rendered, they're fictional courses, they're not real, and their model is a little bit different than everyone else. They've chosen to go with a pay-as-you-go model. So initially you get something like 1,000 credits, which translates to 55 rounds, and you could re-up this every time in different increments, but it's about $25 for 55 rounds. So some people like this because they don't pay for rounds they're not using and don't get locked into a monthly model. Square bills itself as a subscription-free service. Some people argue that's not exactly true, but you're gonna have to pay as you go. Overall, the graphics with the included software are pretty good, but they're not comparable to what you'd see from Foresight or Trackman. But again, how could you expect that because you're paying less than $1,000 for this? So I think there's a ton of value there. What I like about Square is that they have an official integration with GS Pro at launch. And if you are serious about simulation, I would go with this option. In my simulator at home, you can look behind me. I do use GS Pro. I think it's incredible. There's a million user designed courses. They have an amazing practice range environment with different challenges. So if you are serious about simulation, love playing online tournaments, I would go with the GS Pro integration. And I think that's an amazing feature that they have the official integration. Not every company has this. So there are a couple other options that were less important to me. They have putting simulation available if you're into that kind of thing. I don't love putting on a simulator. I find it throws off my depth perception, but I've seen some reviews from other users who are used to using it and really like it. The other thing that comes with the Square is a swing stick. You swing this short stick, it will simulate your ball flight. I think if you're a serious golfer, you're not gonna use this. I think it would be fun if you had kids or friends who were non-golfers who kind of wanted to mess around with it. I would actually love it if they offered a model without this for less money. Not sure if that's in the works or not. So I'll quickly summarize some of the pros and cons I think of this product to help guide you in your purchase decision. So the pros are accuracy. This thing is surprisingly accurate for the price point. Is it going to perform as well as a Trackman or a GC Quad or GC3? No, but when it performs well, it gets you very close. And as I said, it's the only photo-based launch monitor at this price point. This is the technology you want to use if you're strictly practicing and playing indoors. I actually like that they don't lock you into a monthly subscription and have a pay-as-you-go model. The setup is quick, the software is intuitive and easy to use, definitely not a headache. You're getting instant feedback. You don't have to wait 2 or 3 or 4 seconds to see your ball flight and your numbers. And perhaps the thing I love the most is that it has the official integration with GS Pro and other companies like E6, and my guess is that they're gonna keep adding along to this as time goes. So here are some of the cons of this product. Again, this is for indoor use only. This is not going to work outdoors. So if you like to go back and forth between environments, this product is not for you. You do have to use specially marked golf balls to measure. I don't think that's a huge deal, but that might be a problem with some players. In the native software, there is no shot history storage. So if you're really big into data, it's not going to store all of your shots. It currently doesn't have one of my favorite features of simulator software, which is showing your shot dispersion. So again, the native software is fairly bare bones. And there's 2 main metrics that are missing that you should know about. You're not gonna get club head speed, and therefore you will not get smash factor. So if that's something that's really important to you, you should know that at the moment they are not tracking this. So who is the Square for? Well, it's someone who is on a budget, wants to set up a simulator in a limited space, let's say a garage or a small room in their house. They don't want to spend $10, $15, or $20,000 for a high-end simulator setup. I think this is the best option right now at this price level for indoor use. I would consider other alternatives if you want to use a launch monitor outdoors, or if you demand more accuracy. As I said, you can't expect this to perform well as something 10 times the cost. It gets you close on most shots, but it's not going to be perfect. But you're getting a ton of value for $700, and my guess is that the company is going to keep improving the accuracy of the software over time, which is typical of most launch monitors. And there's no doubt that I think this thing is going to be incredibly popular. If you're interested in learning more about the Square or want to purchase it, I have a link below to my friends at the Indoor Golf Shop. You can call them up directly and ask for help. They are awesome at customer service and my #1 recommendation for anything indoor golf related. If I missed anything, you can feel free to post questions in the comments area and I will get back to you as soon as I can. And don't miss my other video where I explain why club face control is the #1 skill for scoring.